As strings of smash and grabs continue to ravage the state of California, as well as some other cities across the country, former President Trump has now called on the National Guard for assistance.
In a statement, the former president said if Democrats don't immediately stop smash and grab robberies, which are taking place in their cities, the National Guard must be called out. There's never been such a thing that has happened in our country. Large numbers of stores are leaving San Francisco and other cities. Some chains are closing most of their stores. If it is all not even believable.
Joining us now to discuss, Heritage Legal Fellow Zack Smith. Zack, one of the things we're seeing to explain all this is it looks like this is just flat out organized crime. They say, okay, the local authorities have said if it's under $950 in San Francisco, you can take it. And by the way, that's per event. I guess you could go down the street and do the same thing somewhere else. And so they're coming in mass and taking these things, and that's assuming they'd be prosecuted anyway. What kind of world is this?
Right. Well, that's an absolutely crazy policy. You know, my colleague, Cully Stimson, and I here at Heritage have been tracking what we call the rogue prosecutor movement for really the past year and a half. These are many George Soros-backed prosecutors in places like San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, Baltimore, just to name a few. And unfortunately, they are refusing to do their job, refusing to prosecute broad categories of crimes that they simply disagree with. And unfortunately, the results speak for themselves. Not only are we seeing increases in violent crimes, particularly gun crimes and homicides, but we're also seeing an increase in general lawlessness, particularly shoplifting, thefts, and these smash and grabs that unfortunately have become more and more common in many of these cities.
Yeah, let's take a look at some of the more recent ones. Just last week, there were roughly 90 people involved in that Nordstrom ransacking. So the question is this the future in democratic cities? Mass planned, coordinated robberies, because we saw it also in Chicago, where a Louis Vuitton store was recently destroyed. This mob of criminals smashing windows, clearing shelves there. They ran out with over $100,000 in inventory. Now, in California, you can rob $950 worth of merchandise and still only be charged with a misdemeanor. Does that seem right? No. I'll answer my own question. No, that doesn't seem right. Go ahead.
Well, No, I absolutely agree with you. And, you know, it would be laughable if it wasn't such a serious situation. You know, both of the cities that you mentioned, Chicago and San Francisco, are run by radical left-leaning rogue prosecutors, Kim Foxx in Chicago and Chesa Boudin in San Francisco. And unfortunately, both, as have their colleagues in many other cities, have taken the approach that these so-called quality of life crimes don't need to be prosecuted. And they've done it under the guise of helping poor and minority members of their community. But unfortunately, the sad irony is that when crime rates increase, particularly thefts and other violent crimes, it's often the poorest members of the community that bear the disproportionate brunt of that increase in crime. And so these policies that are supposedly designed to help poor and minority members of the community actually end up hurting them the most.
So what fixes this?
For these prosecutors to do their jobs, prosecute crimes.
Should the law be changed also, Zach? I mean, to 950 and under is just a misdemeanor, and that's assuming they're charged, caught and charged. Should that change first?
Well, that's potentially part of it. But, you know, in many instances, if you commit a second or third offense, there's increasing penalties. But because these rogue prosecutors aren't doing their jobs, aren't charging the first offense, unfortunately, it's just a repeating cycle, so those enhanced penalties can never be triggered. Really, the easiest fix to this problem is for these rogue, radical, left-leaning prosecutors to do their jobs, seek justice for their victims, and protect the communities that they have sworn to do just that.
What's a quality of life crime? What is that?
Well, these rogue prosecutors define it things like theft, shoplifting, drug possession, prostitution. things that they allege are victimless crimes. Now, I vehemently disagree with that characterization. These are not victimless crimes. And wherever these crimes are allowed to persist, you see the follow-on crimes occurring. Violence follows many of these activities. And again, it's harmful to the community. It's harmful to the individuals who are engaged in these activities. And really, the victims of many of these crimes are not getting the justice they deserve in the cities where these rogue prosecutors reign.
Yeah, and by the way, the concept of not charging for the lower, it's like people who are stealing food. I mean, that was part of the concept, is try to, that those that are doing things because they don't. Go ahead, Zach.
Well, look, I want to say traditional law and order prosecutors have invested heavily in alternative prosecution arrangements, veterans courts, drug courts, encouraging individuals to go to rehab and deferred prosecution agreements. But at the end of the day, there's ultimately accountability for those individuals. If those individuals do not complete the treatment programs, if they refuse to take the steps that are needed, then the charges can be reinstated and they can ultimately be prosecuted. What these rogue prosecutors are doing, they are not helping these individuals by refusing to prosecute these crimes. They're allowing lawlessness to flourish. And again, their communities are suffering the consequences of their very bad policy decisions.
Yeah, just look at New York City right now. Zack Smith, thank you very much for joining us.
Of course, thank you for having me on.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.